Am I the a-hole for being unreasonable about my girlfriend secretly taking our son to see my abusive parents? I didn't have an easy time growing up. My childhood was so fucked up that I sort of just put it all in a mental box and left it at that. Looking back, most of my early memories are colored by a sense of walking on eggshells, trying to predict the unpredictable moods of my father and the enabling silence of my mother. It wasn't just strict parenting or old-school discipline, it was a systematic breaking of a child's spirit. Needless to say, I left my parents as soon as I could and then went no contact and haven't seen them since. I didn't look back, I didn't send a postcard, and I certainly didn't think I'd ever have to deal with them again once I established my own life. There are several reasons I went no contact. Some are things I can talk about, like the constant belittling and the control tactics, and some are things that are still too heavy to lift out of that mental box. When I met my girlfriend, 23F, I was upfront about the fact that I didn't have a relationship with my family. She seemed understanding enough when I told her that I didn't even want to tell my parents about their grandson. We've been together for years, and our son, 3M, is the light of my life. I've spent every day of his 3 years trying to be the exact opposite of what I had. I wanted him to grow up knowing that his home is a safe harbor, not a minefield. I don't want my son around these people, I don't want my girlfriend around these people, and above all, I would never leave any child alone around these people. It's a non-negotiable boundary. My girlfriend doesn't know about what exactly my father did to me and my sister. I've shared the broad strokes, that they were toxic and hurtful, but the visceral details of the trauma? I've kept those buried. I felt like she didn't have to know every agonizing detail in order to respect my wishes. If your partner tells you, these people are dangerous and I need them kept away from our child, that should be enough. You shouldn't need a graphic itemized list of trauma to believe them. For a long time, I thought we were on the same page. She would nod when I talked about my past, or she'd offer a sympathetic look when my sister and I talked about the relief of being away from them. I trusted her implicitly. I thought we were a team, protecting our little boy from the shadows of my past. Yesterday, everything shattered. My sister texted me a picture that she'd found on Facebook. Our mother had uploaded a photo of the family dog, a dog I didn't even know they had, which just shows how long it's been, sitting on a rug. It looked like a normal, mundane grandma post. But in the background, partially cropped but unmistakably there, were my son's shoes. They are very specific shoes, a bright pair of sneakers with a unique pattern that he picked out himself and insists on wearing everywhere. I have my parents blocked on everything, so I never would have seen it. My sister recognized the shoes immediately. She wasn't just calling to gossip, she was genuinely panicked. She knows the history better than anyone because she lived it with me. She was mainly concerned about them even having a kid over, let alone our kid. My heart didn't just drop, it felt like it stopped beating for a second. The betrayal was so sudden and so sharp that I actually felt dizzy. The logistics didn't make sense. My girlfriend and I both work. She only works part-time, but we always have someone to watch our child. Between my sister, who lives nearby, and my girlfriend's own family, we have a solid support system. It's not like she was in a bind and had to bring him there to have someone watch him because she had no other choice. This wasn't an emergency. This was a deliberate, calculated decision that she should have made with me, or rather, a decision she made behind my back because she knew I would never agree to it. I spent the next hour in a state of vibrating numbness, waiting for her to get home with him. When they finally pulled into the driveway, I tried to stay calm for my son's sake. I took him into the living room, sat him down with some toys, and tried to talk to him about his day in a way that wouldn't scare him. I asked him where he'd been, and he started talking about the big dog and the grumpy man who gave him cookies but told him he had to be quiet. As I probed gently, the scope of the deception became clear. It turns out he's been there several times. Not just once, and not just with my girlfriend there to supervise. He's been there alone with my father. My father, the man I am terrified of, the man who shaped my nightmares, has been babysitting my 3-year-old son in secret. Apparently, nothing happened, or at least nothing my son could articulate, but the sheer risk she took with our child's safety for the sake of reconciling a family she doesn't even know is staggering. I was understandably angry. Angry doesn't even cover the heat of it. It was a mixture of primal protective rage and the crushing weight of being betrayed by the one person I thought had my back. I confronted my girlfriend as soon as she walked into the kitchen. The fight was explosive. I asked her how she could do this. I asked her if she had any idea who she was dealing with. Her defense was that every child needs grandparents and that they seemed so sorry when I reached out. She admitted she'd been messaging my mother for months. She thought she knew better than me. She thought my trauma was just a grudge that she could fix with a few playdates and some forced family time. She looked me in the face and told me I was being cruel by keeping our son from people who clearly loved him. I lost it. I told her that her opinion on my family didn't matter because she didn't live through the hell they created. I told her she had no right to use our son as a pawn in her little family healer fantasy. The argument went in circles, getting louder and more desperate. She started crying, claiming I was controlling and that she was just trying to do something nice for everyone. She couldn't, or wouldn't, understand that she had invited a predator back into our lives. The fight ended with her packing a small bag and leaving. She was hysterical. She went to her parents' house, and for a few hours, it was just me and my son. He was shaken up. He's only 3, but he knows when the atmosphere in the house turns toxic. He heard the screaming, and he saw his mom leave in tears. I spent the evening trying to soothe him, feeling like a failure because the very thing I tried to protect him from, instability and fear, had just crashed through our front door. Later that evening, her mother showed up at my door. She didn't come to talk, she came to pick up my son. She was cold, acting as if I was the villain in this scenario for upsetting her daughter. I refused to let him go. I told her that my son was staying with me and that my girlfriend could come talk to me herself if she wanted to discuss custody for the night. This led to a secondary fight with her mom on the porch. She kept saying I was overreacting and that my parents seemed like lovely people when she met them at the park with my girlfriend. Wait. Not only had my girlfriend been taking him to their house, but she'd also been staging meetups with her own mother and my parents? They were all in on it. They were building a world where my boundaries didn't exist, all while I was at work providing for my family. I eventually shut the door on her mother, but the adrenaline didn't fade. My girlfriend texted me a little while ago, asking to talk later today. I know I can't keep my son from her indefinitely. I also don't want to, she is his mother, and up until this point, she's been a great one. But the trust is completely gone. I don't know how you come back from someone looking at your deepest scars and deciding they aren't real enough to respect. I don't want to go into our conversation unprepared. I'm trying to figure out if there's any way to salvage this, but every time I think about my son sitting alone in a room with my father, I feel sick to my stomach. I feel betrayed and still very angry. I'm honestly ready to break up over this. If she can't protect him from the people I've explicitly identified as dangerous, how can I ever trust her with him again? The worst part is seeing my son. He is very upset and anxious because he heard our fight. He keeps asking when mommy is coming home and if he did something bad at the house with the dog. It's breaking my heart. I've spent his whole life trying to keep the darkness away, and now it's inside the house. I'm just at a complete loss and don't know how to handle this. Am I the a-hole for wanting to end the relationship over this, or am I really overreacting like her family says? Update 1. First of all, thank you for all the comments and input. I didn't feel like I could even think when I made my initial post, so it was good getting different perspectives. This will be a long post, but I'll put a TLDR at the bottom. I did write that my GF and I would talk that same day I posted, but we didn't because I needed to sort myself out, and I think she did too. She's been avoiding me ever since and requested we talk at her parents' place, but I didn't want that, so we didn't get to talk until yesterday while my son was at my sister's. Apparently, in September last year, my mother reached out to my GF on FB, asking how me and my son were doing. My mother is a very intelligent woman, but highly manipulative. She convinced my GF to visit them because my father is ill. My GF said she didn't tell me because she knew I'd say no, and she wanted to see what kind of people my parents were. She brought our son but didn't leave him alone at first, but their visits got fairly regular, and she became comfortable with leaving him with my parents. He seemed fine, even seemed to like it there, so she didn't feel like he was in danger. The first time she left my son fully alone was when she went Christmas shopping. I think from what I had told her about my childhood home, she expected a house of horrors, but according to her, the place was clean and fixed up, the dog was healthy, and my parents were nice. The thing is that she knew something happened to my sister. I never told her what happened to me, which I now see I probably should have done. She doesn't see predators everywhere like I do, and when my son didn't report anything negative, she saw no issue taking him and leaving him there. It's pretty clear that she doesn't know anything about abuse and what it can look like. I don't understand how she could think she'd be able to spot the signs with this little knowledge. My father has been in contact with children most of my life, and while I don't know if he's done anything to them, my sister always said he knew how to make children feel at ease. Both my parents are very methodical and calculating, so I don't blame her for believing them, but I blame her for not discussing this with me. She went to visit them after talking to my mother for a few days. Meanwhile I've lived there for 17 years, and somehow she thought she knew better than me. Even when I told her some details about my childhood, she still tried to push supervised visits, saying my father was ill and my son had a right to meet his grandparents, which I don't agree with at all. The thought of children being around these people makes me sick, but she seems reluctant to agree to officially limit their visitation rights. I'd need her agreement, however, unless I want a court case. I also tried to explain why this felt like a betrayal, because this is not just about putting my son in danger, it's also about her going behind my back for months. What else would she be capable of? Then she told my son to keep the visits a secret, which is exactly what abusers say too. She did apologize, saying she made an honest mistake and feels like I'm blowing this out of proportion, and that her parents think so too. Besides, our son is fine, and I shouldn't have raised my voice at her mother and should be more grateful for what her parents have done for me and us over the years, which I am. I owe them, sure, but that doesn't mean they can just overrule my parenting decisions or get so involved. I feel like neither she nor her parents trust me or take me seriously, and it's so frustrating when the mother of your son is pretty much actively working against you. I don't think she can even grasp how terrified I was when I talked to my son about their visits. Again, I know it's my fault for not telling her everything, but I never thought she would do something like that. My past never really affected me much anyway. I never felt like there was a reason for her to know all the details. Honestly, I don't know if anything is resolved. I know why she made the choices she made, but I don't feel like she understands why I was and still am upset. She left after bringing up her mother because I got angry, and I know I shouldn't have, but I revealed something so big and still don't get taken seriously. I want us to work, and she agreed that it'd take a lot of work to get back to before all of this, which I'm not sure is even possible. I apparently deeply upset her and scared our son, which is true. I never wanted us to fight in front of him like that either, and I angered her family. I think, for me emotionally, all feelings for her vanished the moment I found out, so that's kind of where I'm at now. I wish we could make it work for his sake, but I don't want him to grow up with dysfunctional parents or with his parents fighting every day, so if this doesn't work out, I'll need to get a lawyer. I'm willing to put in the work needed for us to stay together, but I've been doing a lot of thinking. We were so young when we started dating and had our son, and I'm not sure I ever thought about us staying together forever. I only stayed because I was living with them, and then I stayed because I didn't want to be a shitty teen dad, abandoning my son and the girl I loved, because I really did love her, I think. Also, I am partially responsible for her being pregnant in the first place. As for my son, I have talked a lot to him these past few days. I had taught him about touch and what's okay and what isn't, so I just hope it's true that nothing happened. He has also, apparently, not seen anything inappropriate. Our fight got to him, though, and he knows I was sad and knows his mom is too. I hope him and I talked it out enough and that my GF gets to talk about this with him too. We might just sit him down or something. I'll need to talk to her about that. Edit. I feel the need to clarify a few things. Also, I see a bunch of people fighting in the comments, and I didn't word things as clearly as I should have in the post. I went no contact with my parents when I moved out for good. When my GF was pregnant, we talked about my parents, and I told her I did not want to tell them they were going to be grandparents, and I did not want them to ever see our child. She agreed, and that was it. Her and I have talked about my childhood prior to my first post. She knows enough about my living conditions to know it was unsafe for any child. She knows my father is a violent alcoholic, and she knows about a lot of the crazy shit my mother pulled over the years. She knows my sister has a PTSD diagnosis, and she knows my father touched her. That is everything she knew, and I honestly think that should have been enough. Her parents also know about most of this. Yes, I raised my voice at her and her mom when I found out she had been taking him there, and I should definitely not have done that. It's been really, really hard to stay calm when talking about my parents, especially with her refusing to listen to me. Our conversation on Thursday was very emotional as well, but I ultimately just shut down after I told her that my father has also abused me, and yet she still said, I don't see why we can't do supervised visits. I don't even have an argument, because logically he can't do anything with someone watching, but it still feels like I'd be trafficking my son even if he doesn't touch him at all, and I can't even explain why I feel that way. People in the comments say it's just an emotional response, which is true, and maybe it's illogical, but I truly don't see how getting to know his grandparents would be beneficial to him anyway. The reason I hadn't told her the details before is because I was fine being intimate, I managed at work. It's not like I want to kill myself every day because my parents were shitty or something. It didn't need to be brought up, and then having to talk about it is just painful, and there's a lot of shame and just things my parents, I guess, brainwashed me to feel. It felt even more impossible after how dismissive she was. Things have calmed down between us now. Maybe it's sinking in for her now, even though she still argues that nothing happened and ultimately everything was fine, but it feels like that's just her inability to accept she's made a mistake, repeatedly. She said she really thought they were okay because they seemed normal, clean house and all, their dog is not a ball of matted hair like our old one, everything being the opposite of how I described it. I don't think she'd bring him there behind my back again, but I obviously can't say for certain. We have not talked about this anymore. Maybe we need that right now so our son doesn't realize how bad it is between us currently, though I'm worried he knows anyway. I think we will separate, though. I don't see us as future partners anymore. Her teaching him to lie to me, and her parents apparently told her that isn't a big deal, really scares me. I'm scared they will paint me as abusive or something, because I really don't have much going for me when it comes to custody. She's the one with a functional support system, with people helping her look after our child, and her parents have the money for a good lawyer and can risk a lengthy legal battle. All of this, however, are things I need to talk to a lawyer about as soon as I find one. I'm not feeling anything for her anymore, not even anger. I know we can't stay together. I don't want us to end up like my parents. I don't want my son exposed to that, so I'm going to have to discuss separating with a lawyer and then decide from there. I think the best I can hope for is that we'll separate without much fighting and that we can co-parent effectively, which is also why I don't want to stir up any more arguments. I'll definitely take legal steps against my parents seeing him, though, as well as taking him to a doctor. Update 2. Hello guys, I've had people reach out in DMs, and I'm sorry I didn't get back to you or answer any comments. I was just really overwhelmed by the attention my post garnered. Someone told me my post was shared to another sub, which I think led to an increase in people commenting and reaching out, so I kinda just gave up. I don't know how many people will see this post or if it will be shared. I think I would prefer if this got a little less traction, lol. Thanks for offering help and advice. I think I've read most of the comments, and a lot of this was really good advice, so I guess it was good so many people saw it. I finally have some time to make another update. My son is alright. Thank God. I've been calling doctors and therapists until one of them, even though booked, offered to do an assessment. She even stayed longer in her office for us. She also, thankfully, gave me a bunch of resources and organizations I can reach out to. According to her, he doesn't display any warning signs of abuse. The physician who works with court cases said so too. I am incredibly relieved. I guess we can't be sure, and the past week seemed to have taken a toll on him, but at least the rest is alright. She's been recommending another therapist who lives a bit farther away, in case he has issues adjusting to us splitting up. So yeah, my GF is now my ex. I don't even want to go into detail about all the shit that's happened in the past weeks. Honestly, this whole thing was just the last straw. Maybe it's a change of perspective after her betrayal, but I put up with her for way too long. As for how I am doing, I honestly don't know. I'm incredibly overwhelmed still, and it's starting to turn into physical symptoms of stress. This is, of course, not good for my son because he can sense I'm sad and tired. I have hardly any motivation anymore, and I guess I'm really lucky that I have another person to care for. I don't know what I would be doing otherwise. He's pretty much the only thing keeping me together at this point. I'm worried he somehow feels responsible for me and the whole situation. He also frequently asks if everything is okay, but we've been reading books about parents splitting up and about mental health stuff, and it seems to help him be less anxious. I also got a lawyer. We have a custody plan, sort of. She's currently back to living with her parents, so we each have some space. We've been to a mediator, actually, and have talked about my childhood and everything that's transpired these past weeks. Having someone else there to back me up and use scientific terms has apparently given me some credibility. Part of our custody agreement is that he won't be around my parents at all, which she actually agreed to right away. She still doesn't admit that she really fucked up, but it's whatever at this point. I've made it really clear that I will take this to court if she ever goes behind my back again, and I'm going to go the official route as well to take away my parents' rights, currently looking into that more. If they want to take this to court, I'm going to go public about their abuse, and I'm going to fight them, even with no proof. There's also the option of facilities where staff can monitor visits. If my parents manage to get visitation, I'll demand we do that. Thankfully, it looks like my GF and I have a somewhat peaceful separation. Things have been really difficult with her in private after I broke up, but it's calmed down now. We both want to remain on friendly terms, or at least not hostile, for our son, and that won't work if we each fight for full custody. This also means I will not try getting full custody. I am already overwhelmed enough, and I'm scared it will just get worse the older my son gets and the closer he gets to the age I was when my father's abuse got bad. My lawyer thinks this is the best route too, but I will be collecting evidence against her just in case something happens. I might be paranoid, but I think it's normal after what's happened. People have been very kind, not just here on Reddit but also those around me. I made my last update feeling very hopeless, worried about my son and having to take leave to deal with everything. Then there's also been my financial situation. My lawyer is doing this pro bono, and my bosses have offered their support when I informed them I needed leave to deal with a family emergency. I am going to figure out a work schedule, but I doubt I'll still be able to work at my job full-time in the future. Things will change once he goes to school, but I had just been given more responsibility at work and was getting paid more, so I was planning on paying back my GF's parents, but I'll have to put that off for now. I will also probably have to move, which is another stressful thing currently. Things aren't looking great, to be honest, but I at least don't feel as lost anymore. I also will be doing therapy. I knew I should, but kind of procrastinated on finding someone for years. I think this might look good on paper, but above all, I think I need it, especially with all the things going on. I hope therapy is going to help with the feeling of doom, lol, and there's a bunch of stuff I should be addressing, especially because I'm kind of figuring out how damaging this relationship with my ex has been. So yeah, that's it. I really think this is the best way to deal with this whole thing and the best outcome. Update 3. I've been meaning to make a post on our current situation. I even had a couple of drafts, but they never seemed good enough. But considering that I got about 20 DMs, I think it's time to make an update. My father was hospitalized in September and died at the beginning of October. It's been hard. I had a lot of conflicting feelings, especially because I didn't go to the hospital or his funeral. My sister didn't attend either. Our mother reached out, but she hasn't even made any Christmas posts. I don't know what she's doing or where she is. I think she's currently at her mother's, who has dementia and can't be left unsupervised. After his death, things got tough. I had issues dealing with everything. My ex and I had been trying to rekindle, but I quickly figured out it wouldn't work. I'm trying to heal from everything that happened at home, and during all of this I started to see what had been going on in our relationship. We were both young, and her family were my easiest way out. I ended up in a situation similar to the one I had just gotten out of. It took me a while to accept that. The past few months, she's been doing things I don't agree with, and she's been going against pretty much every single one of the agreements we've made regarding custody. Her new boyfriend is going to be doing a cross-country move, and it looks like she's coming with. I'm glad, to be honest. It seems like she just wants to move past what's happened between us, including our son, and I'm currently in the process of getting full custody. They'll move in 2 months. She agreed to give up legal and physical custody and pay child support. Although this hurts, and I know this is going to hurt my son, I think this is the best-case scenario. She's bad at choosing partners and can't provide a safe environment for children, and I'm tired of fighting. I wish I had a less infuriating update, but this is just how things are. My son is doing well, all things considered. My sister and I moved to a bigger place. He's made friends with kids from the neighborhood and is doing well in therapy. He is angry a lot, but we're working through that. He's also started to get extremely picky when it comes to food, but that's apparently fairly normal. He also wants a dog, which is the only Christmas present I couldn't get him. But I hope he has everything he needs, and I'm trying to establish an open and honest relationship where he feels safe. He hasn't discussed anything alarming, hasn't mentioned anything in therapy or to my sister either. I am keeping an eye on him, and I just hope that we manage to give him everything he needs and that once he's older, he knows how to communicate if he ever needs anything else. The last time he saw his mom was on Christmas, but we are fostering a somewhat good relationship with her parents. I am doing all right, I guess. I'm trying to work through everything, but because of everything else going on, I don't really have enough space to allow myself to feel anything besides stress. I have a new job now with flexible hours, and my sister and I are pulling through until he can eventually go to preschool. Her and I have always been pretty close, and I'm grateful that we've gotten a lot closer. Her mental health has also improved, and even though it's been a lot on both of us, I think having a child around has really helped her improve. I am so incredibly grateful that I have so many supportive people in my life, including her, our neighbors, our new landlady, and all the strangers I got to meet online and in real life. I've experienced a lot of kindness over the past few months, and especially hearing that people are proud of me for standing up for my son and for how I'm managing has helped and stuck with me. I had initially left out the part about me and my ex briefly getting back together, but I decided to be honest on here. I think because of therapy, and because I've been looking into how men deal with abuse and how little society pays attention to victims who aren't what they deem successful, I feel like somehow I have a chance to do something, even if this will get lost among everything else happening online.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update.